loud. I'm not gonna have a chance to live stream this on YouTube, but I didn't even think to put it down. I can maybe do so later if everybody wants. Okay, Jeff, I just hit the record button.
Alrighty. So I guess I'll just tear right into it. My name is Jesse Lafleur, and I founded the Ready Computer Corporation late in 2020. What started as sort of a long aspirational dream of mine to sort of build my own computer and kind of snowballed into an enormous production nightmare, but a lot of fun along the way. I'm a kind of person who uses a lot of different technologies, whether it's cameras, audio equipment, a lot of data throughput. I also, of course, interact with a lot of my vintage technologies. And I really wanted to have a kind of computer that would kind of do everything all in one. And not just that it would do it all in one, like a desktop, but that I could take it with me. And so, you look on the market and you look at laptops and, a lot of them have like 2 USB ports. And it just tends to be that you break them, the laptop is no good. You're stuck in this cycle of having to buy a brand new laptop every couple of years. And, I got quite sick of it. So I decided to kind of merge all of the different technologies and hobbies and stuff that I have. And I wanted to build a sort of a technical computer, but not just a technical computer, but something that would also be a little flashy and a very strong nod towards the computer companies of the past, in particular companies like Commodore or Tandy or Atari or any of these older, greater companies, even going back earlier to things like MSI and the Altair. So I really wanted to build a computer that would be not just useful for technical specialists who have very particular needs, but also something that if someone just wanted a cool looking retro vintage kind of flashy computer, that there would be something available for people to do that. And so I realized that this wasn't going to be something I would be able to do easily because it's one of these things. It's like, I decided that I started with a sketch in my sketchbook, and I just kind of made some doodles and illustrations just to see what kind of, if I were to make a computer, what would it look like? And one of the things I found myself very inspired by very early on is this computer here, which may be familiar to some of you. It is the Tandy TRS-80 Model 100. It was originally designed for executives on the go. It has the ability to connect through to the acoustic coupler. It has a full QWERTY keyboard, a very interesting ultra-wide display. And of course, Radio Shack was very excited about this product. They even got, it's originally a design made by Kyocera. Bill Gates was involved. It's a cool little thing, but it turns out the journalists liked it more, really, because they could write up their stories, go to a payphone, and upload the story to the newsroom. But something about this form factor, this slab look, which, take a look at the Commodore 64, that same, wedge shape. I fell in love with that shape, and I realized that there was still a lot of utility left in that form factor with, nothing really available on the marketplace to kind of offer that, especially in terms of a portable mobile device, which is, what this really was. So one of the things that I realize is that there are, 35 million plus Raspberry Pi sales. There are, dozens of millions of Raspberry Pi users out there. There are all kinds of very cool, compact, single board computers that are on the market now. And I realized that there was a niche, like a hole in this marketplace where a device that was highly customizable, very configurable, very flexible, really more of a platform rather than a single fixed specification computer that you could sort of evolve over time and then continuously improve and continuously upgrade so that you weren't caught under the same problems that we would see with laptops of the past couple of decades. So I decided, I put together my basic plan and I put it on Kickstarter. I kind of did it absolutely the wrong way. I didn't have a community beforehand. I never had any projects done in advance on Kickstarter before. So, nobody knew who I was, and I didn't have a big, earned media thing to be able to get going, but I decided to make some prototypes, and that was what was really important to me to be able to get the Kickstarter going. And because of those prototypes, we were able to get some earned media with Tom's Hardware, Engadget, Slashdot, Tech Radar, and then what really took off for us was on the very last few days, Forbes.com did an article about us as well. So we ended up succeeding. We raised $250,000, and so let me just take a moment to show you what this computer is. So this is my little baby here. This is, sorry, it's a little over bright. We got some sunlight. Turn down the video up here. That might make things a little better. There we go. So this is it. It is not too big, but it is rather thick. Now, of course, the benefit of that is that you can shove a Raspberry Pi inside. You can shove a 4x4 single board computer. In this particular one, I actually do have an 8-core 64-bit AMD Ryzen chip motherboard in here, 4x4. This is actually now the most powerful computer I've ever personally owned, which is a nice little thing. But the idea is that it's extensible and modular. If you need to upgrade your single board computer in 2 years, you don't need to buy a whole new shell. You just upgrade the component that you need. So let me just go into what it is that the Ready 100 offers. So you've got full mechanical keyboard, RGB programmable, QMK, open source firmware. You're able to use VIA. You can do color animations. I don't know if you can kind of see there's a bit of a rainbow effect going on here now, but it's Cherry MX keys. So you can use any compatible switch. It's hot swappable. So you can just pluck them out and pop them in when they break. How many times on a laptop have you broken a single key and then you need to buy the whole module again? On this one, you take out the one switch and you pop in the new one. Of course, there's so many different caps out there now that are on the market, every kind of color, different kinds of palettes. This is a 64 key keyboard. So it does have the arrow keys, and function row is available just with the press of the function key on the bottom there. Now the top here, I've got an ultra wide LCD. This is also a 10-point touchscreen. So, a lot of people look at this and think, well, the screen looks kind of small, but really what you should be thinking about is plugging this into an external screen, plugging this into your TV at home, plugging it into the monitor at work, even plugging it into a portable display. And that really gives you that full, 2 desktops. So really you should kind of see this as like a very large Apple Touch bar kind of a thing. But it also makes for a really good secondary display. So, whether you want to put your command line down here, or you've got some programs or applications that you want to monitor, or you want to use it as a stream deck, you're able to use that. Meanwhile, using, the secondary screen that's available thanks to the Raspberry Pi 4 or any of these single board computers that can handle dual displays. So I've also got some 5+5 watt neodymium waterproof speakers. They're made by a very good company that provides for a large audio company. But the idea is that this is an aluminum enclosure. It's extruded aluminum. It's actually produced here in Canada. I have it in 6 different colors. But what I think people will really like is what's going on in the back. So on the back here, it's basically a rack mount. I've got 12 D-type ports, which are the sort of industry standard, XLR. But what I also found is that it's compatible with another type of connector called Keystone. So using a very inexpensive 3D printed adapter, or you can get them online, but I do provide them. It allows you to plug basically every kind of connection. So I've got RCA, I've got MIDI DIN 5, I've got headphone jack, I've got HDMI, I've got USB-C, I've got Ethernet, I've got USB 3. I mean, you can, anything that fits, even DB9 for serial. So, I am able to connect this machine to my older machines, that have those interesting ESP32 Wi-Fi carts. So, and to top it off on the sides here, we've got guitar strap lugs. So you really actually can wear this around. I see people like photographers who, they tether to their computer. you can tether to this. It can be your battery bank. You can have all day battery life. You can be your data bank. You can stuff, a 4 or 8 terabyte hard drive inside this computer. So what you get, so what I do is I have it available on my website. We are currently at the tail end of our production. We're just wrapping up the power management board. And so basically what you will get is you get the enclosure with colors of your choice. We got 6 different options, different kinds of side panel materials. This is an acrylic. We also offer wood options, plywood, even nice oak hardwood and milled aluminum. We've also got 4 antenna ports on the back. So whether it's Wi-Fi or cellular or amateur radio, this is a communications terminal. This is a distraction-free typing machine. This is something that can be used for, music production. This can be something you could use as a gig. You could plug your guitar into this and have, your stuff coming out of the side. So, whether it's the keyboard module that we produced, the LCD module that we produced, all these things are connected with normal USB-C cables, HDMI cables. There's nothing proprietary here. Everything that I've done was with a mindfulness to open and establish standards. So I'm not pigeonholing you into using my technology. You can 3D print new sides if you want. I even have a full 3D printable and CNCable version of this computer available on my website. And the idea is that it doesn't matter if you've got a box of parts sitting in your bedroom or your ham shack, or you're just going on Amazon and filling your cart there, or even if you want, my company to produce all of the parts for you, we offer it all. So basically that's it. Whatever, it's really a computer that's designed to be customizable by the end user. It's designed to be the kind of computer that you need. And I try not to punish anybody for joining with me on this ride, this Canadian-made computer at what may be the worst time in all of computer manufacturing history to do something like this. But we actually were invited to CES last year, and we just went in last month in January, and we had a Sorry about that, guys.
Oh no, my Zoom client actually crashed as well.
Oh, I see. So is everybody. Okay. So, I'll just kind of finish it off by just saying that this is, very much a labor of love. This is something that I really wanted to be able to produce, the best version of a small microcomputer in the very traditional old style that I could. I've spent a lot of time studying the way that computers in the late 70s and early 80s were designed and developed. But this is something that, it wouldn't have been able to exist if you took it back those decades. It would have been full of, oversized through-hole components. But the whole point of this is that it's basically an electronic toolbox. You can stuff components in there. So all those dongles that used to have external dongles that hanging off USB point parts that could have been damaged, you can now stuff them inside the case. If you want it to be an all-day battery, you can stuff, a big monster USB battery bank in there. If you just want it to be a super powerful machine that you use at home, you can absolutely use it like that. You could even use it to extend your desktop system, where this can be a secondary screen, your mechanical keyboard, and you just route the connections through on the back here. They're all easily obtainable. They're all inexpensive parts. So that's really, it's the $10 boot versus the $100 boot. Although this isn't that expensive, I do have it for $449 US, but that includes a 40-watt power management system that allows you to basically turn a Raspberry Pi or a 4x4 into a real laptop. That's the real main value of the major power management board that we produced. We've only used very high-grade chips that are, produced by very reputable companies, Texas Instruments, ST Microelectronics, so on and so forth, Atmel. So, I tried very much to use premium grade materials, premium grade components, high quality circuit boards. Everything about this is designed to be durable, hardware. And I want people to be using this computer as long as people have been using, PET or the Commodore 64. And I think that given how flexible and how modular and how easily upgradable and maintainable this thing is, the hundreds of people who have already joined me on this journey, I think are going to be well served by a machine like this. So I guess I'll kind of just wrap that up there. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them. My website is ready100.com. If you also just Google Ready Computer, I'm sure it'll come up. So yeah, happy to address any questions that any of you guys may have about this computer or what I'm doing, or certain questions about the development, or even just the fun kinds of things that I'm getting up to by using it. So I'll open the floor up to you guys.
In the chat, we have a message from Brendan, who's asking what colors are available.
Sorry, what was that?
What colors are available?
Oh, so I have red, green, blue, silver with a blue accent, black with green accent, and gold.
So I'm going to ask the next question. So what are you up to with it?
Sorry, what was that?
What have you been up to with it? What projects are you envisioning right now?
So I do all kinds of things. So I've got a really cool USB device called the Lime SDR Mini. It is a full, kind of cutting edge radio receiver and transmitter device. And it allows you to broadcast. It's basically a field programmable software defined radio that's very capable and very small. So now I do offer a ham receiver kit, which is basically the RTL SDR module. Again, it's a small USB module. It has a SMA antenna port, so you can plug the RTL SDR into your single board computer. You can route the SMA cable to an antenna port on the back, and then you can sit there and you can decode amateur radio frequencies. You can watch free-to-air television broadcasts. You can listen to airplane traffic or sea traffic, or again, amateur broadcasts, whether they're digital, and you can have them decode on your screen. It's really cool on the ultra wide screen to watch the rainfall effect, which is observing a section of the electromagnetic spectrum. It's a really kind of a beautiful thing, and it works very well on the ultra wide screen. Other things I've been up to, again, I am a photographer. I do have a full frame digital camera, and as many batteries as you can hold, that thing will chew through it, especially if you're running it on video. And so I will just stuff my case with 20,000 milliamp battery, and I don't have to think about shooting it. It just powers through USB. There's a little buck-up DC converter, and it powers my camera all day. Meanwhile, I can also have it store all of it onto the stuff inside. I also have some vintage synthesizers from the 1980s that run off a MIDI protocol. This I can transmit either songs to the MIDI controller and have the synthesizer play out in FM synthesis, or likewise, I can have it record and have this act as a software synthesizer. But you can also use it as your everyday computer. There's nothing stopping you from, I do video capture on old analog broadcasts. You can put a USB capture card in here. You can use it for telephone. You can put, a small ATA adapter inside here and hook up your payphone into the computer to get it to work. So I've been kind of experimenting with all of those kinds of things. But this is my everyday computer now. This is, whether it's the, really good antennas for Wi-Fi, so you're not reliant on a little squiggle on a circuit board, or things like that, or the tinny speakers on your laptops, smartphones. This thing sounds like a little Japanese boombox from the 1980s.
Okay, right on.
Question. How much does it cost?
So we have a sliding scale based on options and configurations. Currently, with our remaining inventory, we're at 449 and up US. We do have like an ultra low cost one that we do during the campaigns. These are like, essentially just the very bare bones frames, no key switches, no keycaps, very minimal connectors and whatnot, which we did at a lower price point, which we'll bring back during the next campaign. But 449 and essentially it's one of these machines that's designed for long-term heavy use. Everything about it is designed to either be easily swapped out, you break a piece, or just hard wearing and durable so that it can take a beating.
Question: How many sprites does it have?
How many what does it have?
Sprites. The sprites. Or movable or mobs or sprites.
Sorry, my phone is just a little too quiet. Let me see if I can raise the volume here.
Oh.
There we go. What does it have?
Sprites.
Sprites?
Yeah, sprites.
Well, I mean, I guess that's up to the computer that you're putting inside it. If that's a subtle nod to Commodore 64 and how many sprites it can handle.
Yeah.
I guess it could do millions of sprites.
So what computers have been tried on it? Single board computers have you tried it?
So yeah, right now we've got I've used the Pi 3, I've used the Pi 4, I've used 4x4 motherboards. I've used two different ones. Both of them are AMD Ryzen based. I've used other Intel NUCs made from Dell. They fit inside the case. Basically, any 4x4 or 5x5 or Pico ITX or Micro ITX, any of these very small form factor motherboards, this is what it's designed for. This, it allows you to turn that small board into I call it a portable rather than a mobile, but that's how I see it.
How many? Oh, a question. How many colors can you get out of it?
So the keyboard itself is full RGB, so it's however many thousands of variations that are available in that spectrum. It uses again, it uses the QMK firmware, so however many colors that's able to generate. The screen itself is IPS display, so it's your standard 32-bit color or whatever it is. And then the enclosure itself, we've got 6 colors, so it is there's lots of color to go around.
Oh, okay.
I'm looking at the website right now. A few pictures down from the first page. It looks to me like there are 3 screens on the front panel. Am I looking at this wrong?
Well, it does look like that. Basically, what I do is I load a shell, a Linux shell usually, and then what I will use is a program like Screen or Biobu, which can actually divide it. So I like to think of this ultra wide as kind of like 3 VGA screens. The resolution is 1920 by 480. So you can imagine it as like 3 640 by 480 screens side by side. So that's where you're getting that idea.
Okay. And this is native, and these are like native to the various single board computers out there, I guess, correct?
Basically, any modern single board computer can output onto this display as long as it's outputting HDMI. That is the input standard of this screen.
Can you envision like certain emulators that would run on this?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've definitely already run, all of the classic emulators, whether it's for, even the TRS Model 100 virtual T software, or whether it's more modern software for Super Nintendo or even Dreamcast emulators that are out there. It just depends on what system you're running. If you're running a Pi 4B, of course you can run any of the 8, 16, and some of the 32-bit consoles, no problem. If you're running a full x86 64 based system, then it's really whatever the board is capable of doing. I was even doing some VR earlier with this. The most important thing with the mobile boards, you got to keep them cool. The cooler they are, the faster they'll run. So making sure you've got good airflow. We've got a good air flow pattern on the back. Also, the single board computer has active cooling on it. So it is able to do some video editing. It's able to do if you want to put a higher end 4x4 board in here. But one thing I really am trying to get my hands on is the Mister. I'm sure some of you guys are familiar with the field programmable gate array hardware emulator. I think that would work really well with a system like this. I can imagine just running like an Amiga, making this like a portable Amiga. I would love to see someone do that with one of these things. I can't get my hand on these Mister devices. They seem to be rarer than hen's teeth with the global chip shortage. But I definitely see, a lot of people wanting to do some retro gaming with us, and I will be eventually doing an arcade version of the top plate, so I can have joystick controls and arcade buttons, and I think that would be really cool. Imagine the arcade marquees of the game that you're playing on the bottom screen here, and then you've got the game you're playing on your big screen at home.
A couple of things that come to my mind is some of the DJs in the group who maybe use it to create or play mod trackers at their concerts.
Absolutely, and that's the thing. I really wanted, any kind of professional creative types to be able to see this as a useful tool to them, because you can configure all of these ports. If you need it to be a bunch of MIDI ports, if you need it to be a bunch of USBs, if you need it to, also be RCA capture or any kind of, plug out there, you can interface with this. So whether it's, serving as the control for all of your other devices, or whether you're using it as a software synthesizer, or just something to store and record, whether you're a musician or a DJ, I think there is some utility here that people can easily discern for themselves.
Question.
Cool. Sorry, I didn't mean to overtalk you, Marlon. Go ahead.
Oh, thanks. How does it compare to the Commodore 64 computer?
Obviously, it's there is a very strong affinity from me and love coming from me that I was very deeply inspired by all those early 8-bit home consoles. And the things that I recognized that I really liked about them were things like mechanical keyboards, or again, even just the wedge shape that I definitely think is a very cool form factor. So, I was very, I love the 8-bit home consoles. This was created with those in mind. I mean, how would it compare? I mean, obviously, comparing any 8-bit to a modern 64-bit machine is, similar type comparisons. But I want people to feel very familiar with this machine. That, I think when a lot of people buy hardware today, whether it's a laptop or a cell phone, it almost more feels like you're renting it for a couple of years. You don't have a lot of say in customization. Obviously, the Commodore 64 came in, the glorious, every color you could imagine, so long it was brown. And whereas I'm trying to be able to offer people the same kind of flexibility that, you may have had in the Japanese home stereo market in the 1980s, red boom boxes, these big monsters. I really want people to be able to draw some of these parallels towards some of those other consumer products. And I wanted to see something of a merger between something like an 80s boombox and Commodore 64. So that's how I would say it compares.
So great presentation. Love the product. I'm curious, you mentioned you're going to be having additional campaigns. I'm wondering if there are going to be any edits you'd like to make to the design, or if there's like a Rev 2 design you've got in mind and what that might look
Absolutely. So I do refer to this as the Mark I. This is the Model 100 Mark I. So I already do have a number of further developments that I have worked on over the past year in terms of Mark II. What's important to me is forward compatibility. I want the people who invested from me in the beginning, opting with the Mark I, that when the Mark II does come, say in another couple of years or who knows when, that it would be an easy transition, an easy upgrade path for people who were on the Mark I to be able to go to the Mark II. So, I do envision all kinds of different options and configurations and innovations and add-ons. I won't get into the details of it now. I don't want to spoil it, but I do look forward in terms of this product, in terms of upgrading it for the future, but also ensuring that I'm not punishing anybody who gets in on the action now, because they really will be able to grow with the system over time.
Question. Could I plug a PS2 keyboard and mouse into it?
You could. So all you would need is one of those PS2 to USB devices, and then either, then it depends on if you can get a Keystone PS2 connector coupler, then you can mount it right into the frame. Otherwise, you would just have to, it just depends on how you want to do. You could, for example, right now I just have the power cable coming in through a soft TPU 3D printed hole connector until I get the barrel connector that I've ordered out of Asia. But it's just a matter of what coupler can you get your hands on. So whether I do hope to do a lot of different custom ones, because I do think even things like PS1 and PS2, there are going to be some people who want that, and as long as it fits in the D type, which I believe is like 23 millimeters diagonal circle, you should be able to find either a keystone or a D type adapter that you can shove into the enclosure.
Okay.
So the idea is you're using a bunch of USB devices to simplify your computer setup. So, for the MIDI, I simply have a USB MIDI device. Now I route the couplers here on the back frame. So then really the USB device connects onto the other side, but then any device that I have is now completely external. And, I don't have things hanging off the side of this. I don't have things flopping around. It's about consolidation and about, taking advantage of the miniaturization of the past 30 plus years.
Question. Could I attach a 27-inch monitor to that?
Yeah, absolutely. So even right now, I've got an HDMI port on here. Now I'm running the 4x4, which can handle multiple K displays. So that's really how I encourage people to use this, that they either, now of course you could cast it to your smart TV if you wanted, or you could connect it through HDMI, or even if it was like a Raspberry Pi that has composite output, you could easily use an RCA as a composite video and connect it to your Commodore 1702 monitor, or again over HDMI to your 4K display, no problem.
Okay, thanks.
So you were mentioning internally, it's like hugely modifiable. You could pack in batteries, various types of single board computers, etc. You guys provide like 3D printable models for those?
Yeah, we do. So I mean, they're all coming. I've been developing over the past several months all the different kinds of connectors, all the different kinds of things that would enable people to use this or that type of device. I want all of those to be available. I want all of those to be free and 3D printable, that people can do it at home, that if they break apart, they don't have to go to my website and order, a $2 part and pay X dollars shipping. If they've got a 3D printer at home, they can do those parts themselves. Or if it's a part that has, I haven't even thought of yet, I'm going to be setting up a marketplace. All of these files will be available for people to share them, to print at home. So the most important thing about it is that all the connections, they're USB. So the emphasis is using standardization of connectors. So you don't have these, weird ribbon cables, proprietary connectors. Everything is meant to be using standard stuff that you have around the house. So, it could be out somewhere, you've got your computer you strapped onto, you're going to a friend's house, and he says, oh, I forgot my USB-C to USB-A cable. Well, on the back, you have thumb screws. You can take off the back plate, pull out the cable, lend it to your friend till he's done with it, and put it back in. So, there's even some utility into it as being a sort of a repairman's toolkit of sorts.
Okay, I'm picturing modem wars with two of these. Like I'm seriously picturing modem wars with this. Another thing is I noticed in picture antennas.
Yeah.
Are these Wi-Fi's that tuned for Wi-Fi antennas, or?
So we include either SMA or RPSMA couplers. And basically that's a polarity thing. Where is the pin? Is the pin in the connector, or is the pin in the antenna? And there tends to be two kinds of, now you can use any kind of adapter to switch it. If you need, an F connector cable, if you need a B and C connector, all of those adapters are usable, but the idea is that most people are going to be using Wi-Fi or cellular or amateur radio with these antennas. So the ports are included, but the antennas are not, because anyone who knows a little bit about radio will tell you that antennas are application specific. So it wouldn't do good to give people antennas that they would never use. But they're all available on Amazon. And the whole point is that it's cheap to get parts for this.
So I can literally take an amateur radio board, say I create an amateur radio board.
Yeah.
Plug into a single board computer.
That's
and
right.
stick whatever tuned antenna I want to it.
communications device, and that's what I do now currently with the Line SDR Mini that I have. It is a full receiver and transmitter device, and then it fits inside the case. It's literally like this big. It's maybe the size of a couple boxes of matches lengthwise, and it's cutting edge technology. And because it's so small, it fits in this case no problem. It's about 1.5 inches thick on the front and about 3 inches thick on the back. So one of the things that we did was create an ergonomic wrist rest to ensure that you've got a good, comfortable reach here. But I tend not to need it. I don't have any wrist issues, knock on wood, fingers crossed. But the idea is that this should feel very familiar and comfortable to anyone who's used to a Commodore 64 or a Atari 800 or anything like that.
Question, does it have a numeric keypad? Does it have
Does it have a
numeric keypad on it?
numeric pad? So I decided to opt with the 64 key layout. Of course, you could use an external USB number pad if you wanted. Future products down the road, I am looking at different forms, larger or smaller variations of this frame. And I do see a very large version in the works that would have the full size keyboard. But I think people who are looking for the full size keyboard, that would make it a fairly larger product. It would be about this size, I would say. So I wanted to keep things relatively compact, and it was a bit of a trade-off between getting the size that I wanted and maintaining the functionality that I wanted. Making sure that there were arrow keys was a really important thing to me. So I didn't want to go with a 61 or 60 keyboard key layout. I wanted to go with the 64, but it's compatible with any other 64 key PCBs that are out there. Even my keyboard PCB is not proprietary. I've basically just used the same cutout and the same layout that the industry standard is. So if you already have a 64 key PCB, you can easily include it in my enclosure. But on my website, all the models that I currently have available do include the PCB.
How many joysticks can you plug into it?
You wouldn't be limited. I guess the maximum would be 12, since you've got 12 ports. You probably, if they're USB devices, then, it's up to the limits of whatever your single board controller, single board computer is. Even on a Raspberry Pi 4, I'm sure you would have no problem plugging in 4 or 8 joysticks without any problems.
Oh, okay.
I'm just kind of looking at the website and I'm thinking LAN party at the next World of Commodore with it.
I really wanted to join you guys at World of Commodore. I'm really sorry. I was simply overwhelmed with things. I was really excited about going. I was actually hoping that it would have been the first public exhibition of the product, which unfortunately I had to go to CES. So I apologize that I wasn't able to go to that show. I was really excited for it, but a lot has been kind of going on in the background of my life, which colds.
Understandable.
I don't want to spread COVID to anybody, anything like that. So I had to sit home for that one, but I'm very glad to be here with you guys tonight.
Totally understandable. We're glad that you were able to make it tonight. It looks really cool. I definitely want one myself.
I got to say, it was really exciting. Even though CES was a much smaller affair this year, none of the big players did. It was kind of nice because then people were more focused on the smaller guys. And the reactions I was getting from people just seeing this machine with their eyes, it's like, some people, it's like it seemed innately familiar to them. They couldn't put their finger on it. It's like, where have I seen this before? It's, of course, the answer is never. They've never seen it before, but it should invoke strong memories of things like old boom boxes and 8-bit computers. But, as much as it has those sort of retro looks and retro charm, it is a decidedly modern machine. There's really nothing that you can't do on this machine that you can do on any other laptop or any other desktop, single board computer bearing willing, right?
Of course. So I'm on the website again and I'm looking at the units for 49. When are you guys shipping when are you guys shipping the next one? Like when are you guys shipping again?
We're intending on shipping out approximately 60 days from now. We are just wrapping up the production of our power management board. That's really the heart and soul of this device. It provides 3 5-volt power lines, including a 12-volt power line The 12-volt power line includes the audio amplifier circuit. It includes battery charging, so you can use 18650 batteries. That's the thing. I didn't want to have people to have to buy proprietary battery packs from me. Even the battery system is using easy to get batteries that you can buy online from a reputable battery supplier. And it is not just usable with 4 cells, but it's also usable with 8 cells. It really depends on how much room you have left over after you've shoved everything that you want to inside. But this power management board, I really think not only is it the thing that really makes this a real computer system, because that's the thing. A lot of people don't realize that you can't, it's easy to just power a Raspberry Pi and put it in your backpack. But if you wanted to supply power to a screen, a keyboard, audio system, external devices, internal devices, you need more than, a 30-watt power supply. This is running a 60-watt power supply, but I bought it for $19 off Amazon. You don't need to buy anything fancy and proprietary. I'm using standardized components for everything, so that the idea is that you really have the flexibility to power it as you want to. But our power management system is designed to supply enough juice to a Raspberry Pi, plus all these accessories, plus more, and charge your batteries all at the same time. And anyone who's ever tried to build a system around a Raspberry Pi has faced these power management issues. And that was something I really wanted to make sure that anyone who went in with this system, that they wouldn't have to even think about it, that they just put all their connectors in and it just works. And it has the added functionalities like every power line has a switch. So the idea is that if you don't want your LCD on while you're walking down the street because it's a power drain, you can just one click and the LCD is off. Or you don't want your speaker system to be eating up juice, one click and it's off. Every power line here inside on the power management system that controls a certain part of your computer can be hard turned on, turned off. So you really have a much finer control over power management that basically you can't get on a laptop or devices of that kind.
Question.
I'm sorry, Marvin, go ahead.
Okay, thanks. Is it a standalone computer?
It's up to you. So we do sell it without a single board computer. So if you want to plug it into your desktop, it's easy to do that because again, it's just HDMI cables and USB cables that will interface with our boards. But if you want it to be a standalone computer, then you can put anywhere from a Raspberry Pi to a 4x4 single board computer and make it a complete system. So it's kind of like the entire computer minus the brain. That's what gives you that long-term upgradability for this platform.
Can you plug it in?
Yeah, so you can either plug it into the wall, which I've got this one plugged in now, or you can have it plugged in with battery or both, have it charge and be pass through power at the same time.
So does it accept rechargeable batteries?
Yes, it uses 18650 lithium rechargeable batteries.
Oh, I see.
Those are the most common ones that people can get. They're very popular for vape pens a few years back. Many manufacturers of them, LG, Panasonic, Samsung, of course, they're widely available. You can get up to 3000 milliamp cells. And so I definitely encourage people to buy high quality and high capacity cells when they use it with this machine. But your battery life will simply depend on the single board computer that you use. My power management system can deliver up to 40 watts of power. So the single board computer on this machine can range anywhere from about 20 to 40 watts for the whole system. But a Raspberry Pi system could use a lot less, and a Raspberry Pi Zero even less than that. So you could use a Raspberry Pi Zero with this, and then you would have incredible, all day battery life because you could just stack all kinds of battery packs in here and really use this for a very long period of time. So it's really how the end user wants to configure it. But we do offer everything from Pis to 4x4s to no SBC whatsoever.
Is there any weatherproofing in the unit?
So that is something that we are developing. We are developing a gasket system right now. The speakers themselves are waterproof, so we already have that mentality in mind. I'm building a ruggedization kit add-on that will include roll bars, some we also have screen protectors that we've had custom made, and some rubber gaskets to really make this maybe IP65 standard if I can manage it.
Can you demo the sound system? I really want to hear this thing.
Oh, so I actually don't have that plugged in because I don't have the power management board here that has the entire chip with it. So unfortunately, that's the only thing that I can't even demonstrate out. Now, you can, of course, if you didn't want our power management system and you wanted to use a USB 5-volt power amplifier, there are many of them available on the market and they're all compatible. It just uses, the wires are actually pre-soldered. So there are so many of these little modules that you plug in USB, plug in your analog audio, and I've used them and they work fairly well. I was hoping to actually have that in time so at least you could hear, but it's, to be honest, it's you'd be hearing it through my smartphone microphone and it wouldn't sound very nice. In person, this thing is really loud. I can't overemphasize that this thing is exceptionally loud. It is way louder than any laptop. It is way louder than any cell phone. These are real speakers. This is the same kind of quality you would get from like a USB sound bar that you would get at Best Buy or online. Is the same manufacturer speakers that provides to a large audio company for their Bluetooth speaker systems. And again, we're using a ST Microelectronics audio amplifier that's well isolated to minimize noise. So it's not even just going to be loud, it's also not going to be full of annoying static. But I really imagine people walking down the street rocking this like a boombox. You're going to have that kind of power.
When we start having in-person TPUG meetings again, please come and DJ some mods with it, please.
I would love to come in and show this to you guys. Again, I think, it's one thing to kind of see it, another thing to see it online, but to see it in person, it's kind of it almost looks out of place. It almost looks like it's from another timeline.
Definitely catches my attention. I will say that right now.
I'm glad to hear it.
I'll take a look at the your net site and see what I can find there.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got some, write-ups explaining, the different things that people could use it for. On our shop itself is also all the different options that we offer, all the different configurations and current add-ons. But I honestly have another dozen add-ons that I have, including a thermal printer that I got for side panels. I've got a secondary display, like a clamshell style add-on that I'm developing. I've got all kinds of things that I'm developing that will further extend the usability and flexibility of this platform. And you'll be able to see it all on the website.
So it's not unlike a sidecar on the Amiga then?
Pardon?
Not unlike a sidecar on the Amiga then?
I would love to see, all kinds of, add-ons or mechanisms to allow further add-ons. And whether it's alternate side plates or alternative top plates. I even have someone who's trying to develop a bottom panel heatsink. So I think really it's the things that are going to come out of this that are exciting are not the things that I'm developing, but I think the hundreds of people who are already waiting for this device and planning for it, they've got ideas and conceptions that I haven't even dreamed of. They've got specific use cases in mind. I have a gentleman who approached me for 100 units because he wants to use it as a security system monitoring terminal in all of his facilities. There are very interesting uses that I haven't even conceived of yet, add-ons, adapters, modules that are going to come out of the community. And that's really what I want to encourage. If someone wants to develop things for this, I want to encourage them to develop it and to share it. And and if they want to work with me to produce some, I'm happy to do that too. I really see this as as an opportunity for people who want to get out of the cycle of buying a new laptop every couple of years. A new single board computer might only cost you $250. Compare that to the $600 you might have to plop down for the machine around it. You've already done that once. So I'm trying to save people money. I'm trying to give people a superior product. And I hope that people find some useful utility that maybe even I haven't thought of yet.
Question. Can you did you say you can plug a numeric keypad into the side of it?
Yeah, absolutely. So whether you did a USB numeric keypad, which I have a few kicking around, that works seamlessly. You plug it into the USB port, and whatever operating system you're running, it recognizes it as a standard numeric keypad. Of course, I can also imagine someone making a 3D printed side panel that extends the case out to include a numeric keypad or something like a trackball. I actually really love using a trackball with my computer. But again, this is also a touchscreen. It's a 10-point touchscreen, so it can act as the mouse if you're using it on a secondary screen, or it can just be the touch bar use case. So it's really about how you imagine being able to use it. So if you want to add a keypad externally or as a module or something along those lines, it's very easy to do. There's nothing stopping.
That's good.
Let me say again, Modem Wars. Just
I
anyone
think
out
it's a really cool, like LAN party style computer. I've had a couple TV shows approach me about getting their hands in some units. I would love to see this in like a science fiction movie, like a cyberpunk movie. Some, who knows, that would be really sick. I really wanted people to see this not just as a tool, but as a cool looking toy as well. I want people to be wowed by it. I want people to be like, what is that, when they see it? Whenever I go walking with this, I get a million questions everywhere I go. And I'm going to be going to DEF CON in Las Vegas in August, the hacker convention. They're doing kind of a retro theme for their 30th show. They are very excited about this. So I know a few of the people who've supported me on the Kickstarter are going to be there as well. So I'm bound to meet at least one other person rocking this this year for sure.
That's rather cool. So you can definitely run like Kali Linux on Raspberry Pi, for example, and
Absolutely.
have a credible penetration test.
Definitely not inconspicuous. It's kind of makes its presence known. But again, you don't have to go with the flashy silver and blue. If you want to go with a more quiet black, I even offer a no art version. It's just plain straight black. So for someone who wants, a very low key, it's still going to stick out. Like let's not kid ourselves. This is a computer that doesn't look like any other computer. But if someone just want to go a little more understated, I get that. Whether they want to do plain silver or even plain green, whatever they like. I want people to have that flexibility. I also offer custom laser etching. So if you want a special message written on it or your own custom artwork on it, I can custom etch the artwork onto the plate and really help you make it your computer. And that's really what I want people to understand, that when they get one of these kits from me, they're building their own computer. It's not a computer that, they got from me and it's my entire vision. I mean, yeah, it has a certain style and it's got a certain aesthetic, but using it is all up to you.
If we were putting Raspberry Pis in the unit, how would we be able to access the SD card port?
So I've seen a couple different methods. I've used SD card extensions before.
Okay.
Can get extensions that, and I'm building a little converter plate that will get easily obtainable SD card extension modules that will mount onto the back. So you could easily put in a full-size SD card or a micro SD card and have it connect to your Raspberry Pi, no problem.
Yeah, just in case I'm switching between my regular Raspberry Pi Raspbian OS versus, say, I forget the name of the Amiga OS. I got Amiga emulator that I just picked up off of can't remember the name now. Sorry. So I'd be wanting to switch SD cards for sure.
That's it. And I really want to have all of those kinds of adapters and modules available. And those are going to be coming out over the next coming months. But I want to also make it clear that I will help people, get those kinds of modifications by, again, providing those 3D printable files so that they can just download it from my website, print it at home, and do it themselves. So I realize that some people don't have the time for that, which is why I do offer those options. But for the people who are more hands-on, who are more DIY, who really do want to have more of an ownership investment of their own, sweat equity onto this machine, I want to enable them to really customize it to their exact tastes.
Question. Did you say it comes in acrylic or aluminum?
Yeah, so the vast majority of the system is aluminum. So the front and rear extrusion, the top and bottom plates, but the side ones I offer different options. So acrylic is my most affordable option, but I also offer Baltic plywood, and I also offer red oak, and I also offer milled aluminum. Now, I also have the side panel design available as a 3D printable. So if you want to 3D print your own sides because you got a cool material at home, you can do that. If you want you have your own CNC machine and you make it out of the material you have at home, you can. But if you want us to provide, the aluminum, custom made, just to add that much more durability, it's going to be part of our ruggedization package. But I do also currently offer it as an option. So if someone wants to add the milled aluminum side panels to make this all aluminum, they could.
Okay.
So I'm curious, are you located in Canada, or
Yeah,
is this an American?
I'm in Toronto.
Cool.
So it's very Toronto, very, very local products. I do actually produce the aluminum.
Thanks everybody for coming, and please welcome Benno Rice.
Oops, sorry about that.
No worries. I thought I was getting kicked off.
Sorry about that. I just happened to click the wrong button.
Does the aluminum come in gold?
Yes, I do have a gold one. I have it in gold, black, silver, red, green, and blue.
Mm.
Now, if you go on our website, there should be a picture of the gold one. You can see what the gold plate looks like, and it's like a glittery gold. It's not like a mirror. It's not like a chrome finish. It's an anodized gold finish.
Mm. I see.
So, I mean, I was very happy to be able to do wood side panels because I do think it really strongly evokes the sort of 1970s aesthetic, like the Sol computer. I definitely have a lot of love for, mid-century modern technology that has a exquisite wood side paneling. So that is an option with this machine. So if someone wants to really class it up and, make it high spec looking, they could. If someone wants to make it more, fun and flashy, like an 80s sharp boombox, they can. Or if they wanted to make it very cyberpunky, kind of a black and neon green. But you have options. I have 19 different keycap options, different color combinations. So whether you want to make this all black or make it nice and white, or I've got all these different options to allow for customization. So I think just about everyone will find something that they like.
I'm looking for the next generation of the Commodore 64. Do you think that your computer qualifies for that?
I would definitely say it's a similar lineage. When I look at these 8-bit machines, they are the inspiration for this machine. So when people see this, and if it makes them think about the Commodore 64, I'm going for that. If they look at this and they see a machine, an 8-bit machine, whether it's an Apple IIc or an 800 XL or something along those lines, there are design elements, there are ergonomic elements, there are form factor elements that this is very heavily leaning from. Because the reality is that there are no wedge form factor computers on the market these days. So I do want people to see this as something of a successor to something like the Commodore 64, and certainly as a successor to something like the TRS-80 Model 100. I do want people to see this as something that. But the thing is, I didn't want to create just I've seen some of the interesting efforts that people have done where they've made an FPGA based Commodore 64 successor. My goal is not to say, well, it's going to be compatible with all this software. The idea is that it's going to be compatible with the software if you put the emulator on your single board computer to do it. Eventually down the road, I would love to make my own single board computers, especially using like the RISC-V standard. But that's a while away. I'm really just focused on making sure that I'm providing an enclosure that provides, full keyboard, full audio and video, radio capability that is portable, modular, easily repairable, easily upgradable. So there are even certain things about what I'm doing that are definitely against or different from what the Commodore 64 was doing. Now, of course, the Commodore 64 was a fixed specification system. You couldn't upgrade the RAM. You couldn't upgrade, there weren't things that you could change about it. There were certainly, expansion ports and things that you could connect drives into. And certainly, I take from those same cues to make sure that you have all the expansion that you want from it. But yeah, for sure, if people see this as something that could spiritually succeed the Commodore 64, I want to encourage.
Well, if you wanted that, if you wanted a successor to the C64, you'd have to have sprites and different sound waveforms.
Oh no, for sure. Fixed hardware, whether it's a sound generator chip. I mean, these are all things that someone could easily fabricate as the brain. Again, this should be seen as sort of the entire computer minus the brain. So if someone was enterprising enough and wanted to resurrect a VDP chip out of an MXX2 or some of those DIP. What was it? YSM? I can't remember the manufacturer. I think Microchip makes them now. Sound chips with real oscillators and real hardware stuff. This still will allow you to do that. The idea is that if you want to create the hardware successor to the Commodore 64 in that sense of a true video chip and a true sound chip and a very whether like a modern 6502 or like the 16-bit version, you could do that. If someone wants to take the field programmable gate array approach, doing the same thing, replicating the SID chip in FPGA, that could be done and interfaced into the system as well. So at the same time, I didn't want to pigeonhole it as this is a retro machine. That's why I don't go out and say, well, this is the next Commodore 64, because in that sense, it's not. I didn't want to limit it to only following in the footsteps of these 8-bit machines. It is deeply inspired by it, but it is a modern machine. It is meant to be used with modern processors and modern single board computers, but it is hack friendly. So if someone has in mind, an FPGA based system or a custom made PCB that they want to interface with this, they just need to add HDMI output and USB output to be able to control the keyboard and the display, and they have a perfectly compatible system.
Oh, okay.
I got a question. Forgive me if you've gone over this already because I was on another call back and forth. Did you talk about price?
Yep. So we have our basically everything but the single board computer at $449 US, which is the enclosure, the 40-watt power management system, the battery holder, the audio amplifier, the LCD, the keyboard PCB. It also includes keycaps and switches. We have 6 different colors. So whether you like a clicky key, a brown medium way key, or a red gamer style key, we've got those 19 different options of these. We've got add-ons for ham radio, add-ons for MIDI control, every different kind of configurable port. We've got different color shells. So the price will range, but it begins at $449.
Oh,
US.
US.
But I want you to see this as a machine that they're going to be using, 5, 10, 15, even 20 years down the road. I really do think this has that kind of longevity as something useful to the individual.
Where are you located?
I'm in Toronto.
You're in Toronto, okay. Yeah, those look like Toronto payphones.
They are. They definitely are.
Are they connected to landlines or VoIP lines?
Yeah, I do have it over VoIP. So I've got a PBX at home that I've got an 8-channel internal network, but it can also dial out on 2 central office lines, which I have a phone ATA device, which connects both to my Asterisk server on Unix, as well as a VoIP provider to give me international calling.
What you need to do is put in a cellular modem in there, and then put a battery in there, so you can carry it around with you and make phone calls.
I do have a cellular modem that I can turn this into a cellular payphone. I do have that.
And you could throw a battery pack in there, and then carry it to a restaurant and make phone calls.
It has a built-in battery pack. It has a built-in battery pack. I literally can just take the modem, put it in my backpack, carry the payphone, and it's cellular. It's about 60 pounds, so it's not so easy to cart around, but it is a hoot.
And lastly, can you do me a favor? Could you set the time on your VCR? It's killing me.
You know what? I honestly spent 5 minutes trying to set it before this started because I knew exactly that someone would point it out, and I can't figure it out. I've got it on clock. I'm pressing the program button. I'm pressing every combination of keys here, but it's not, and I don't know what I'm doing wrong. And I just have to look it up. I got to find the manual.
Do you remember that old Sony commercial? Ever see that Sony commercial?
Which one?
Hang on. I think I bookmarked it at one point. Yeah.
Is it the one from that movie?
No, it's about poking fun at like the jockey kid, because and the geeky kids all say, "What time is it at Jimmy's house? 12 o'clock. 12 o'clock."
Oh, yes. I have seen that one. Yes. 12 o'clock. 12 o'clock. So yeah, I knew someone was going to call me out on that, and I did try, but I couldn't figure it out in time.
Oh, here it is. Yeah, right here.
I love my dad, but he kind of embarrasses me.
I'll just throw it I'll throw a link in the chat. Can you see the chat? You don't look like you're sitting at the computer.
Yeah, I'm not at the computer. I'm only able to see yourself and myself.
Oh.
Ben, maybe I'll make you a co-presenter and you can share your screen.
Sure. Okay. It's only a 30-second commercial, so why not?
Yeah, just a moment. And you are co-host.
Oh yeah, turn on share sound. I always miss that. Optimize your video clip. This window, share. Can you see the YouTube screen there?
I can see it.
Yeah, I can see it.
Is it maximized now? I don't know.
Yep.
Yes.
Let me know if you hear it.
I love my dad, but he kind of embarrasses me. He doesn't get technology. He can't even set a VCR.
What time is it at your house, Billy? 12 o'clock, 12 o'clock.
He's a nice guy, though. So
Really?
I feel kind of bad about spending so much time with Erwin and his dad.
Anyone from Oran?
The kid needs his father to be a hero, right?
R.I.P. I think there's no more. Is Sony store? Or are they all gone now?
Sorry? Oh, Sony store? I don't know.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time I seen one. It's got to be at least 10 years ago.
Yeah, they closed them all down.
What time is it at your house, Billy? 12 o'clock, 12 o'clock. That's awful.
Yeah, but they only have 10 fingers.
They're just simulating the blinking of the clock.
Yeah.
Not the actual count at the time.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, the Sony shop is online.
Yes, of course.
Like everything else. Any more questions this evening? Of course, shooting the bull is always a plus around here.
I mean, if no one has any questions, I'm more than happy to just chat about whatever with you guys. It's been a lot of fun just being here with you guys today.
What's that thing you got on top of the third payphone? Next
Here.
to the, yeah, what is that?
It's a blue box.
Ooh, an original blue box?
No, just one I made it.
Nice, though.
But it does generate the right key pulse tones. I actually have a real one. I don't mean like a real blue box, but I mean like a trunk testing set that was made by the Bell System in the 1970s. It's like this big. It has enormous handles. It weighs a ton. It has both a rotary dial as well as the operator keypad, which generates the 2600 tone and all the other. It was designed to actually test the ingoing and outgoing trunks between central offices. So I call that my real blue box. It is actually also in blue, but it's definitely not the blue box that someone would have been dragging around to the payphones.
And since this is a TPUG, of course, what's with the pet there? Is that just a regular pet? Anything special about that?
Nothing special about it. It's just a normal CBM 8032. I picked it up thrifting. I always pick up nice old machines when I see them. This particular one was a high school machine once upon a time. Not in the best shape cosmetically, but internally it's functioning well. It does need a bit of a keyboard clean, but I definitely wanted to bring it out because obviously this is TPUG, and I didn't feel that I would be doing any justice if I couldn't at least show that I had a pet.
There was, when we posted this on some of the Facebook groups, there was somebody like questioning, why is this device being promoted bit group? Like, what does it have to do with anything?
Well, sure, absolutely, but that it's like anything. There's only a limit to how much new pet stuff is coming out every year, but people's lives move on. Obviously, this is it's relevant in the sense that again, I really do see this as something of a successor to the lineage of these sort of early home microcomputers and the early home portable computers. I really think that we've taken a very different approach to computing now. I really see that when people buy computers and devices, they're more machines made by companies in which the user is the product. The data that is collected by you using that machine, by the GPS data, by your browsing habits, all of those things have completely changed what these devices are doing in our lives. And I wanted to create something that was essentially the opposite of all of those things. I really feel it's a bad direction that we've taken. Planned obsolescence, e-waste, things that aren't designed to be repaired. All of these are bad things. My computer doesn't spy on you. My computer is not meant to be thrown out after 3 years. My computer is not designed to take advantage of your data collection or to convince you to buy a bunch of parts and stuff from me unnecessarily when you can get them from anybody else. So, I think that the older computers had a little bit more, especially the further back you go into the homebrew kind of period. So it's definitely a bit of a balance of what I felt were the best of each sort of decade of home computing that we've had, including today. Today the benefits are the fact that we have very low power devices, very small, everything standardized around USB. Whereas you go in previous decades, you have hard wearing, durable, long lasting, meant to be used for hundreds upon hundreds of hours, designed with user replaceable parts, things like that. When you go and find out what's wrong with your Commodore 64 today, we're lucky that we have the internet that we can check these problems, but the average person can whip out their soldering iron and do the work. And I like that. Now, I wanted to make it even simpler than that. So all of the connections, again, are done in a way that don't require any soldering. The entire computer can be built with just a screwdriver. You don't need to solder any cables, any wires whatsoever. It really it can be done by school children with a screwdriver in the course of a couple of hours. You guys still there? Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, it's, if I didn't follow these things that I liked about these older computers, then I wouldn't have made this. This is very much a love letter to those old 8-bit machines, to the computer manufacturers of the 1970s. But I wanted to make sure it was radically useful. I didn't want it to be thought of as just a toy, even though it may have very kind of a cute appearance. This is a useful utilitarian device. And so I'm trying to balance that line between, something cool and flashy and something that people can seriously use for their workflow.
So not only do you have to buy the casing, you also have to buy the computer that fits in the casing?
That's right. Now I do sell them as well. So if you want to, completely buy it with me, I have a package price that you can do that. But the idea is, I think a lot of people already have a Raspberry Pi at home, or they already have a 4x4 single board computer, or it's not hard for them to get into one. So, the idea is that I'm not locking someone into it. It has to be this processor and it has to be, this board. This will work with anything you have, anything that fits inside, or anything that's out on the market that fits inside.
Oh, okay.
So that's why I think that it really ensures that this is a product that people can continue to use over years, because there's nothing that's forcibly necessary or requisite other than just providing a single board computer to do all the rest of the heavy lifting parts, of course.
I'd like to see one in person. I mean, if we ever sooner or later when we do in-person meetings, you'll have to come out.
I would absolutely love to come out and show a few of these units to you guys in all the different colors that I have them in. Again, I really do think it's one of those things that once you see it in person, it is just a whole different perception and of it. It almost looks like it's like a 3D object, like it's not something that's actually real. I have to admit, and in person, it looks out of place. It kind of looks like it's again from somewhere or something else. And I like that, of course. I love the reactions that I get from people just seeing it in person. And I'm even amazed at the reactions I get with people seeing it online through the videos that I produced or the photos that I've released. But it's a different, another level reaction than when people see this in person.
Do you take it to a Starbucks and check your email on it?
Let me see. I've got a browser open. I probably can open up Facebook. Oh, I just unplugged it. Good job, Jess. And my power management system isn't available yet, which is the last component that I need before I ship it. But this thing automatically starts itself up.
Did you see the TPUG video where Starbucks did a commercial and they brought a bunch of pets?
I was just gonna bring that up.
Yeah, they brought a bunch of pets and 64s and SXs and stuff into a Starbucks.
I'm digging up the video now.
Yeah.
Oh, here we
So,
go. 2014. Wow.
Just your standard desktop. So, it is a touch screen. So you can just open up the program.
I'm just looking for, oh, there it is, the YouTube link. No, it's not. Hang on, I'm looking for it now.
I think I found it.
Okay, all yours then.
Okay, I'm gonna share my screen again. So funny. Hang on. Share. Yeah, there we go. Share.
I was gonna go that day.
Okay, let me back it up a little bit and go. Can you hear and see everything okay?
Yeah.
I can,
Okay. Portable computers. I don't know why this.
I've got a case of Oh No More Lemmings, brand new for the Amiga as well as Aminos, both from Psygnosis.
This keyboard for an Amiga 2000, it actually has Mitsumi switches, I believe.
My original Commodore VIC-20 from when I was 14 years old.
Here's like stuff we were saving for the grandkids. Brand new in box. There you go.
I didn't really realize that you were saving these for the grandchildren. So that's news to me.
I always look forward to getting together with the TPUG members. We all have the same interests. We have totally different people from totally different backgrounds, but we all get to sort of resonate around this interest and this affection that we have for the computers that Commodore made. I think the thing that is really cool about getting together at Starbucks that's different from some of our other meetings is that this is a specific situation where we're going in, we're setting up in this great environment, we're setting up our own machines in the way that you would see people with laptops or with tablets.
Look, it's so funny. Look at him.
Some of the people just join in with us.
Can you tell me how to do it?
Oh yeah, totally easy.
I don't even remember how to play with these things. Okay.
The club is called TPUG, the Toronto Pet Users Group.
One time there were 22,000 members.
How many are there now?
It might be 12 or 15.
You know, you always remember your first love, and mine would have been the Commodore VIC-20, which was the precursor to the 64.
The sound of the keys when they bottom out, when they come up, the sound of the springs resonating around inside the...
I don't know why I paused.
case of the computer.
What's going on?
The chirp that it makes when it boots up, the whole thing takes me back to being a little kid every time.
They just ask, what do you want to do? They come on, you turn it on, it goes beep and says ready.
When you perform, do you ever get like really into it?
Yeah.
That's awesome. That was really cool.
That was 2014, really?
I know.
I've seen the still that at the very first second, but I didn't know it was a video. So I knew about that first frame, but I didn't know that it was part of a video.
You know, I was at John's house a few weeks ago, and there's that clip where he's in his backyard with the bins. I don't know if you saw that, but there's a bunch of bins. What happened was, I think he ran out of space and he started putting stuff in bins. They're like watertight bins, but they're not moisture proof.
Like those Rubbermaid.
And I didn't put the time together, but when I was there like a couple of months ago, he said, "Oh, those bins have only been out there for a year or two." But in the video in 2014, the bins were already
There's
out
the
there.
evidence.
So unfortunately, I think a lot of the tech in there is going to be, problematic sitting outside.
Yeah, mold or whatever definitely is an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I keep all of my stuff that's not here in a climate controlled storage facility. So, I see myself as the curator of all of these artifacts, that they are not mine, but that they are merely in my possession for the time being. Which includes my, my pets and all my cameras and Polaroids and all these other, fun stuff that I like to collect. But it's as much as I love the old stuff, I realized I kind of just wanted to follow in the same footsteps. I really kind of wanted to capture some of that time period that I didn't get a chance to see myself because I'm out of place by a generation or so. But I really wanted to have that same kind of experience that Tramiel and his kids, or Owen Bushnell and Dabney and all those guys. I wanted to see some of that for myself. So being able to start with an idea, a doodle, take it to Kickstarter where you get hundreds of people supporting you, to being invited to CES. How many great, amazing computer products and systems were released at CES. So it felt like a lot of a bucket list kind of things, trying to recreate that sort of spirit of those early microcomputer days, or even early Apple, that kind of a thing. I really wanted to capture that for myself, and I feel that's kind of what I'm doing here. Definitely this is a hobby, but it's got to be a hobby that pays for itself. And it's just got to be one of those things that that I'm doing right. I don't want to do this just to make a lot of money and to make a bunch of crap. I want to make something useful. I want to make something that people like the look of, but is also respectful to the things that I really liked about the things that came before. And so that's why I'm just having a lot of fun, even just putting all this stuff together and sharing it with other people and seeing their reactions, because for some people it looks obnoxiously familiar, and for other people it's something new that they've never seen before. And if this can act as a sort of a hybrid gap between two different time periods, then I'm happy for it, because if that exposes people to the way that we used to do things, the way that we used to make electronics, from being locally made and designed with longevity in mind, and when those guys designed the chipset for the Commodore 64, they may not have expected people to be using it 30 years down the road, but I don't think they would have been all that surprised, at least that this hardware would survive that long, chip problems aside. So I'm trying to take the best of that time period, not be so focused on the fixed things, like we were talking about earlier, a specific synthesis chip or a specific processor. I really wanted to remove that out of the equation, just to allow people to not see this as a niche product. I mean, it is niche, don't get me wrong, but I realized that there are certain levels of niche that I didn't want to go down too far into. So, I've seen lots of people who have made, like the replicas Commodore 64s and or the PC case that is a Commodore 64 case. But I wanted something that had even more utility than that. So I tried to look at these from the lens of different types of use cases and different products that were inspiring to me over the years, just because I am a collector of these cool gadgets. And I wanted to make my own boombox, so I wanted to be able to incorporate all that into one machine, because look, that's where we are today. Everyone has everything in one machine these days. No one has the camera, the computer, the 10 different devices like we might have had 20 years ago, and certainly a dozen devices that we might have had 40 years ago. So this is a thing that can be complementary to your existing system. It can be a standalone type of machine, but I really wanted people to recognize that this is following a certain lineage or a certain way of doing things that I think is more correct in the way that things are heading now.
What do you have a day job?
Yeah, I am a partner at a financial technology company, which pays the bills. I haven't actually drawn a salary out of this project. We've raised about $350,000 so far. So it's, we're producing a first run of 1,000 units. So more than half of those have already been claimed, either as rewards or as subsequent orders. When we get close to running out on the remainder of our inventory, based on bulk sales that we've had, based off of, we're expecting a lot of media exposure once we start shipping, because we know a lot of these are going out to content creators, they're going out to reviewers, they're going out to well-known YouTube creators and whatnot. So we are going to get a bump of attention from that as well, along with the ongoing attention that we've received. And once it's in people's hands for real, and once they're starting to do their thing with the machine, then I think we're going to run out of the remaining inventory we have pretty quickly. And that'll be the perfect segue to getting us into the second campaign, where we'll be able to, do much better than we did on the first one. If we only raised $250,000 on that first Kickstarter, I don't see why we couldn't raise $500,000, even $1 million on the next one, once people see that we can deliver and that we've got a good product. Sorry, if you said something, it cut out. I think you're on mute.
Oh, no, I'm just leaving now. So.
Oh, okay. Well, it was very nice to meet you. I hope to see you all guys in person very soon. And I can't wait to show this off to you guys in person and just hang around and see some of the cool stuff that you guys have too.
Thank you.
Great, thanks.
So let's see what time we're 9 o'clock. I guess should we wrap it up? Are we are we at the time limit here?
Oh no, I've got the room booked for until like 11. So lots of time if anybody wants to chit chat.
How easy is it to open up the device?
It's actually very easy. On the bottom are 4 thumb screws, but they're M3. Right now I just have normal M3 screws, but I'm shipping them with M3 thumb screws. So you literally 4 screws and the bottom plate's open.
Is it interesting to see what's inside of it?
It's very plain because it's the bottom plate also acts as a mounting plate.
Mm-hmm.
So most of your boards are going to be on that back plate when you pull it out, and then it's just USB cables and HDMI cables on the inside and whatever board that you have inside. So the thing is, you will notice that there's a lot of physical space, that there's just a lot of space for you to cram USB devices or extra batteries inside that enclosure.
So it's pretty sturdy too.
That's the thing. I really wanted it to be rugged, at least on a rudimentary level. And you know, and when I have that ruggedization kit, you know, it's gonna not just include the the roll bars, I think, here to help protect some of the stuff, but you know, also things like rubberized edges to help you know, prevent any damage to the aluminum sides. And maybe a more rugged keycap set, and you know, anything that I can think of that will help ensure either dust or water as minimal access to the inside of the system. So I do think of those kinds of things in mind, because I do think people are going to be taking these things out, you know, on the road or out camping. And I really do see these, you know, I think there's even a market for it in the sort of prepper community to be a sort of a communications type of machine. I see people using these for digital modes. I'm an amateur radio ham myself, Victor Alpha 3 Victor Hotel Sierra. I've been a ham for about 3 years now, although I've had an aeronautical radio license since I was 12. And so this is a communications device. This is a modern day terminal. This is a hub between different generations of technologies. It is just as much a wireless device as it is a wired device. It's the emphasis is just that it's flexible. So no matter what kind of need you have with computing, whether it's you know, again, hardware based, or whether it's software based, or whether it's wireless based, this has the flexibility to meet those specific needs.
Yeah, very cool.
But I want to thank you guys again for inviting me out. Again, I'm really sorry that I couldn't meet you guys at World of Commodore. I was really keen on doing that. But again, I'm very glad to be here with you guys today, and I definitely want to come out to the next in-person TPUG meeting.
Oh, we're glad we were able to make it out. This has definitely been pretty interesting, and I've got a few retro ideas coming in my head right now with it.
Absolutely. You know, I'm confident that the people who see this machine and use it in their day-to-day lives are going to come up with much more cool things than I ever will. I mean, not that I don't have a bunch of interesting interests that I can apply this technology towards, but there is some interesting stuff coming out of the woodwork that people are starting to tell me that they plan on doing with theirs, and I can't wait to you know, be sharing these videos and these pictures with the general public. I think they're really going to be impressed with what seems like just an interesting little enclosure, but with the features and the standards that I picked, and you know, the technologies that we're including inside, people are going to just see that this is a really robust computing platform that has that extensibility, modularity, and flexibility and repairability that just isn't available with any other kind of computer.
Well, thank you again for coming out. This was definitively cool.
Well, I'm glad you guys liked it. Again, the website is ready100.com. We also have a Discord where I'm regularly chatting with people. Again, our introductory price is $449 US for the base unit. That includes all of the custom PCBs that we've produced. It includes basically everything you need out of the box except for the brain, but we do also have packages that include a Raspberry Pi or a 4x4. And then if someone is a little bit more price conscious, down the road, again, we will be doing a bare bones version for our next campaign. But to be honest, with the global chip shortage and supply chain crisis, it honestly could be even 2 years by the time we get a chance to do another run, just based on the current situation. You wouldn't believe some of the trials and tribulations that I've had to go through sourcing chips, securing components. Every other major company are either canceling products or delaying products. We're here in the trenches fighting it out and getting this thing done. I originally thought that I might have been able to hammer this out in 3 months. If COVID hadn't been happening, that probably might have been true. We're just about at a year now, but we're basically at the finish line. We really just have this last keyboard production to wrap up. We already have all of our components secured and at our PCB manufacturer. Again, the Texas Instruments chips, the ST Microelectronics chips, all these high grade components, because we just want to provide the best boards that are on the market. Anyone could go and buy a PCB for a keyboard, but ours is a more durable board. Ours is more rugged. Anyone could buy LCD controller for the module that we picked, but ours is fitted to the LCD. It's custom made for that LCD, and it allows for any kind of HDMI connection to it. And the built-in touchscreen is also accessible just by USB-C. So again, it's all about standardization to ensure the maximum amount of flexibility so that people can really make the system exactly what they need it to be. As long as they like the very retro wedge shape, which not everybody does, but I honestly feel that this shape, that form factor, provides just certain utility that something else doesn't. Like you can't have a full-size mechanical keyboard on a laptop, and you can't take your desktop with you everywhere you go. It just doesn't have that ability. But this is a little bit of the combination of the two. It's like a maxi laptop, but it's also like a micro desktop at the same time. But I think what I'll do is I'll get out of your guys' hair. It has been a pleasure to speak with you guys for the past couple of hours. And I wish you guys all a pleasant evening.
Thank you. And definitely hope you'll be able to come out to one of our meetings once we start getting physical again.
Yeah, 100%. Again, I really do see these important legacy organizations like TPUG. Again, it doesn't get any more legacy for the microcomputer revolution than TPUG. And it's just a treat for me to have you guys ask me to come out here and to share what I'm doing, because again, what I'm doing is a very big nod to those 8-bit machines of the past. All right, so I'm going to get out of here. Again, it was a pleasure, and have a good night, everybody.
You as well. Thank you again, dude.
Bye.
I'm going to stop the recording now, so if anybody wants to just chit chat, by all means. And I'll probably upload the talk probably sometime over the weekend to the TPUG channel on YouTube.
I like the